And welcome back. It is Ray Michaels here, Total News Nation and Grassroots 50. We're here with the lovely Morgonn McMichael.
Thank you, Ray. It's been a long time.
I know, 3 years.
3 years.
Can you believe you were so young?
I know, I was 22.
And
now
so
I'm 25.
Innocent. You are a contributor with TP USA.
Yes, I am.
And you're traveling around with Charlie Kirk himself.
It's pretty exciting things we're doing.
Yeah, all around the country. And talking about, we were off camera. We were talking a little bit about the excitement that's happened over 2024.
Yes.
Right? The whole Chase the Vote. That
Huge.
was really, really big.
Yeah.
In fact, Donald J. Trump himself said it has to be too big to rig.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's what we did. We had ballot chasers in these swing states hired by Turning Point Action to actually get out and chase that vote. I know that Cliff Maloney was doing a lot of work in Pennsylvania as well with Scott Pressler. And truly, if it was not because of the work of these ballot chasers with Turning Point Action, with the PA chase, I do not think we would have secured this election. And we saw how big Gen Z played a role within the election win. 15% of the electorate was my generation. And a lot of people are saying, you know what, Gen Z is going to vote for the left, everyone's going to vote for Harris. And that was not the case. We saw how young men moved the dial this year within Gen Z. Guess what? Women under the age of 30, 40% voted for Donald Trump, which, of course, is not the majority, but we are still learning and leaning in a more conservative direction than ever before. And I truly believe that that is because of the work that we are doing with Turning Point USA. We're talking billions of views, talking to thousands of college students across the nation in person. Charlie was on 25 different college campuses this year in swing states, and I myself was on over 15 of those stops this year. So we've really been boots on the ground, putting in the work to talk to my generation.
All right, so as a contributor, right, you're traveling with it. I'm sure there's a big entourage, right? Are you on stage with Charlie? Are you doing things separate from Charlie? How does that work?
Yeah, so my main role when I'm on these campuses is to interact with the college students. Charlie's on the stage debating a lot of the liberals, owning the libs,
listen,
and it's so funny.
If you haven't seen some of these are hilarious.
They are fantastic.
Because you know what? They have 3 talking points and then they die.
And they die because you ask them a good thought-provoking conversation question. You ask them to have critical thinking skills, and all of a sudden they cannot answer your question. It would be crazy if you just ask a liberal why, and all of a sudden you'll see how quickly they fold on their entire belief system. And truly, they've been brainwashed. The name of the tour this semester was the You're Being Brainwashed Tour. And when I'm on these college campuses, I'm the one doing street interviews, right, interacting with the students. And one of my main questions is, what is the biggest issue impacting Gen Z? What is impacting you right now? And I always heard inflation, cancel culture, and political division, which I think is driven by cancel culture because everyone is so sucked into social media and they're being brainwashed by it. So they're so fearful of speaking out. But I will say that Turning Point USA has given these Gen Zers hope. And that is what these kids needed, is a reason to speak out, which is why I've been able to do what I do over the past 3 years, is because we give these students something to speak about and to not be afraid of cancel culture. I mean, 2016 and 2020, I bet you didn't see college students walking around with red hats on their college campus, but all of a sudden, 2024, you see a sea of 3,000 students at Penn State all wearing MAGA hats. It's a pretty cool sight to see.
And I mean, think of where we were to know where we're at right now, right? Mm-hmm. So this isn't the first generation that has been indoctrinated or brainwashed, right? But it starts in kindergarten, right? So you have 12 or 13 years before it gets to the college campus. So by the time they're there, they're so entrenched, they're so embedded in this thought process of this is the way that you think. When you go there and ask thought-provoking questions, they kind of shut down because they almost don't know how to think.
They need re-education. You're exactly right. They don't know how to think because their entire lives in public education, they have been told what to think. They don't have critical thinking skills anymore, and we are seeing a generation being put at a disadvantage because of the public education system's indoctrination starting from, you're right, kindergarten. You're having these LGBTQ classes all of a sudden taught to 4 and 5-year-olds about, what gender are you? How do you feel? What are these pronouns? Instead of actually giving them critical thinking skills.
How about drag queen story hour for nurseries and
Horrible.
All of that? Yeah. All right, so, I'm curious, have you ever gone up to somebody to ask questions Why are you here at college? Was it your idea? Was it your parents' idea? Are you here because you know what you want to do in your life? Or are you just taking general classes hoping that no matter what you throw up against the wall, something is going to stick?
I mean, Charlie wrote a book, College is a Scam. I myself am a college dropout. I was studying mechanical engineering. And when I asked these other students on campuses, is college a scam? Is college worth it? What's the dumbest college class you've taken? What's the dumbest college major? Is going to school for 4 years really worth it? Do you know you want to do? Actually, I'd say more than half. I would say more like 80% have no idea what they want to do. They're just going to college because it's what is socially accepted.
It's the next thing
it's
to
not
do.
just because their parents want to do it or because they actually want to go to college or because they know what they want in the future. It's because that is what the machine has been pushing for decades. It's you go to school and then you go to college, you maybe get your master's, and then you go out into the workforce. And I really think that we need to start talking about alternative education forms like going to trade school. I mean, you can make more going to trade school and being an electrician. Isn't that crazy?
Or
you can make
plumber,
more money going to
or
a trade
HVAC.
school, making these trades, electrician, HVAC,
$100,000 plus a year.
$100,000 plus dollars a year instead of getting a bachelor's degree in business and then doing who knows what, being an intern. And I think, that the college education system has failed the next generation.
Well, they get out of college with the degree. They start at $40,000 a year, but yet they have a couple $100,000 in debt.
They're in debt. They don't know what they're going to do. They go and sit in a cubicle for $50,000 and $60,000 a year, maybe, because a lot of these college degree educated individuals can't even get a job in the job market. They're being put at a disadvantage, and instead, foreigners are being actually prioritized for a lot of jobs. You have the visas that are coming in that are taking American
visas,
jobs.
yeah.
You have student visas, and so Americans are being put last.
Crazy. I can remember growing up here in Phoenix, right? ASU was in Tempe and they had their buildings. They had one dorm for the girls and several other smaller ones for the guys. Now you drive through downtown Phoenix and whole areas are ASU, U of A Hospital, ASU,
Yes.
ASU.
It's all about money. The university system in America is a multi-billion-dollar industry, which is profiting off of student loans, federal loans, and it's crazy to see how many students are blindly going to these colleges, having no idea what they're actually going to do in the future, and instead are graduating with debt and are already starting out in the negative.
So do you think somebody graduating from high school, going to college, that they need a gym and a big rec room and all of these amenities so that they go to college?
It sure is enticing.
Yeah, it sounds great. Let's go to a resort, and I can spend my 4 years there. But the cost.
To go if you cannot afford to go to college, and if you're going for a major that is not going to set you up for success in the future, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
All right, look, we know that you want to be a doctor, you want to be an attorney, you want to be an engineer, you want to be a rocket scientist,
something in the STEM
specialist.
fields, law, doctorates. There is, I won't say that no college is necessary, but for the individuals that are just going to school to go to school, I encourage so many young individuals to find something that they're passionate about and actually get involved that way.
All right, so you want to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
Can you take a college course that teaches you that?
I mean, now they have entrepreneurial degrees, but I don't think that a college class is going to educate you on how to be an entrepreneur. You have to have the grit. You have to actually do it.
Have the passion.
You have to have the passion and the experience, and that's what's different about that.
Yeah. All right, so do you have a funny story? So last year,
Yes.
funny story, you meet somebody, it's a memorable one. I mean, you meet thousands of people. You can't remember all of them, but some of them stick
goodness.
with you. Do you have a really funny one?
I bring up this story. I was at the University of Buffalo up in New York, in Buffalo, New York, and there was a man that came up to me who was yelling at me saying that he is a woman. And I said, well, what is a woman? What makes you a woman? He said, it's a feeling, that womanhood is a feeling. And we continued to debate on this topic for about 30 minutes on camera as there's police behind me. They're protesting. He's holding up a sign about how much he loves socialism. And it just showed me how much the woke mind virus has truly infiltrated our generation. And that was last year. And I wonder where this individual is today. But I think that's one of the funny moments. I've always had people ask me, is this for Turning Point USA? When I ask them, I'm like, yes. And they're like, oh, we hate Charlie Kirk. We're not going to talk to you, which is always funny to see. But Yeah, it's really interesting to see the interactions you have between conservative individuals versus liberal individuals. And I myself like to stay fairly in the middle, nonpartisan, when filming content, because I want to actually see how liberals think and what they're talking about. And a lot of the times, they just continue to stumble on their words and not actually have a cohesive thought on why they believe that abortion should be legal or why they think the Second Amendment should be eradicated. I have asked questions like, if you could change anything about the Constitution, what would you change? Like, I would take out the Second Amendment.
Really?
And I think that's crazy. Yes.
Do they have a basis of why they would take out the Second
Guns are
Amendment?
bad, mass shootings are bad, and like we shouldn't have them legalized. I'm like, oh, so you think that the government should have firearms instead? So it's quite interesting to see, how many talking points the left continues to use.
All right, curious question. How many of these liberals, these socialists, the ones that want to do away with everything, and it's kind of an unfair question, but how many of these are Bible-believing Christians?
None. I mean, I don't think that you can be a Christian and be a liberal, because if you look at everything that the Bible contains in upholding traditional biblical values, I don't think any of that coincides with the liberal ideologies at all.
Well, I mean, let's think of it, right? You have your creator. God created man in his own image. He created the laws of nature. Nature's God.
Yeah.
And we create government to protect our individual rights, liberties, and
Absolutely.
freedoms given by God, right?
Right.
So if the government wants to come in and jump in any of those places, then you can't really believe in God and that he created us in his image and that he created the laws of nature and nature's God.
Right. Let's look at church and state. Church and state is because we did not want the state in the churches.
Oh, yeah. No, Thomas Jefferson was
Very
the Danbury Baptist, he was very specific. You don't have to worry about the government ever interfering with how you want to worship.
Yeah, see how that played out during COVID when churches were forced to close their doors, and that's where we need to stop the government from infiltrating our daily lives and taking away our liberties.
They work for us.
Right.
And what is the Declaration
we,
of
the people.
What does the Declaration of Independence say? If a governmental system is not beneficial for the people, it is our right, our duty to alter or abolish it. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Amen.
This is Morgonn McMichael. Oh, wow. It's so great to see you
good to see you
again.
too.
I hope it's not going to be another 3 years.
I know. Well, come to AmFest next year. We'll be back.
Yeah, absolutely. She's doing some great things. Where can they find you?
You guys can find me on all social media platforms and Turning Point USA channels. If you can spell my name, you can find me Morgonn. It's just Morgonn.
That's it? Just
That's
Morgonn?
it. Just Morgonn.
Oh, but it's so much more than just Morgonn. All right. We want to see some of the interviews. One last question. How big is your entourage when you're walking around?
Oh, my goodness.
Is it just one guy with a camera? Do you have a group
When I'm
around
filming
you?
my content, it's usually a couple of us. I have our camera crew and our productions crew at Turning Point are phenomenal, and so we have a whole crew there.
All right. So people know that they're being filmed.
Yes,
They
yes.
know.
It's not a gotcha moment.
All right. So they freely are interacting with you. It's not that you're... Hey,
we always ask them. I'm like, hey, can I ask you a question for a clip?
Okay.
So
And they're good.
they're good. They always say yes.
All right. Morgonn McMichael here, and we thank you for joining us here at AmFest 2024. We're here with Total News Nation and Grassroots 50. I'm Ray Michaels, and until next time, we'll see you real soon.